What's going on, guys? The Inside the Boot Podcast, episode 73. And today we're breaking down the NFL team tiers. It's the first time we've done something like this on our channel. But, I felt like this was a video that was going to be fun to make. Because, I don't make these videos often. I'm definitely going to be doing them in the future, though, with any team, whether it's baseball, hockey, football, anything. I really enjoy these type of videos because it gets a different point of view, from me. Because usually we're talking about the Giants every week, preview, post game, what I like, what I don't like about the Giants. But now we get to talk about more teams, and this season has been, interesting. A lot of moving around, with teams. The Giants soon to miss the playoffs. The Lions 10-4, the Chiefs 9-5, the Bills hoping to get into the playoffs. It's interesting, and this is the time where things get really, really interesting and teams move around. Some teams miss the playoffs, some teams are gonna make the playoffs, and we get to break it down, all the teams. What are my thoughts on it? Whether it's the Atlanta Falcons, the New England Patriots, the Dallas Cowboys. As much as I hate the Cowboys, I have to rank where they are. But, our tiers we have today of what I'm ranking, we got the best of the best. We got the Super Bowl teams. We got the elite. We got the great teams. We got the mid teams. The awful teams. And the teams that are just, ready for the draft. That's, a category that only suits a few teams. But, we're going to get right into this. Okay. But definitely leave a comment on what your team tiers are. Whether you have the Chiefs as an elite team or one of the Super Bowl teams. Let me know. I'll definitely make another one. For like playoffs. But yeah, I'm gonna start doing different type of content on this channel. Of course, gonna have another mock draft coming out. Definitely be talking about the Yamamoto news for the Yankees. That'll be. All those videos are going to be coming up real soon, but let's get into it. Okay, let's dive into this. And we start off with the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are a team that looks to be one of the worst teams in football. We understand that. They have Kyler Murray back, but this team is not making the playoffs. We know that. We also know that this team is, really bad. And they're in a tough NFC West teams with honestly 3 teams that could make the playoffs. The Rams have been looking better. They're 8-7. The Seattle Seahawks are trying to push their way to the playoffs, and the 49ers are in playoff land because they are most certainly going to be in the playoff picture. But right now I have the Arizona Cardinals at the awful tier. You could also make the argument that they're ready for the draft. I think it's really in between there. Right now I'm going to put them at awful. I could change my mind later in this episode. We got the Atlanta Falcons next. Arthur Smith, a head coach that simply cannot use Bijan Robinson properly or that offense in general. Kyle Pitts, I feel like he's a star in this league, but I don't think they use him correctly. I think he's way better than a player than he is. There were some times that Jonnu Smith was, I think, getting more target share and all of that, but, right now, got the Atlanta Falcons at the mid-tier, 6-8 on the year. Could change that. Anything can change. Just remember that. Whether I change the the Arizona Cardinals to ready for draft or awful, things can change later on in this video. So that's why definitely watch the entire video. But we got the Baltimore Ravens, and this team has been really good in the AFC. One of the better teams in this league. And Lamar Jackson's playing really good. Zay Flowers is a very promising wide receiver for this team. They got Mark Andrews, who's really good. I really like this team a lot, and I think they match up really well against a lot of these AFC teams, and I think they're the best team right now in the AFC right now. I just really like them. I think, this is a Ravens team that could very well make it to the Super Bowl. I really have a lot of confidence in that this team, as long as Lamar Jackson plays really well and they don't choke, I could very well see this team beating a ton of teams in the AFC. And now, I don't know if I would have them as my Super Bowl winner, but I think they're a really, really good football team this year. And listen, if you're a Ravens fan, you must be having a great time seeing Lamar Jackson play well, with Zay Flowers being really good. But now we get to Buffalo, and this is a Buffalo Bills team that I really like. And I know they're 8-6, and I really do believe that they're going to sneak into the playoffs and go 11-6. I really do think that. Now, the question is, do you put them at the elite tier, which is, really where playoff teams are? You can make the argument for that, in my opinion. I think Josh Allen has been one of the better QBs this year, even though he does have a turnover problem, but I still really believe in Josh Allen. I think he's one of the best QBs in football. I think they just came off a really good win, a dominating win over the Dallas Cowboys, so I think this team can play. I think James Cook was an amazing investment, and I really think this team is a great football team. Now, this could change because of the fact that I think this is, honestly, I think you could even put them in elite. I'm not kidding. I really do believe in this Buffalo Bills team, and I think they can really go a long way if they just start piling up wins and make the playoffs. I really do. So I'm going to keep that in the elite tier. Go to the Carolina Panthers. And now I really feel bad for Panthers fans. Right now, we all know the Chicago Bears have the number 1 overall pick. That is from the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers stink this year. They're god-awful. Bryce Young, there's some questions about him. They already have made coaching changes. It's been a tough ride for Carolina Panthers fans. And I can't say I'm in shock, but I do think this team has pieces. I think Brian Burns is a good player. I think Derek Brown's an amazing player. I think Adam Thielen, for the most part, has been a good wide receiver, but no wide receiver 1 material. And this team is just a mess. So, I mean, I don't even know if I could put them in the ready for draft category because they don't have a first round pick. Right? They don't have a first round pick because of the fact they gave it to the Bears. So I think this is just a team that's in the awful tier. And now we look at the Bears. We're going to put them at the ready for draft tier. I do think they're in the awful category, but I'm going to put them in the ready for draft tier because they got the number 1 overall pick, and they have another one. They have 2 first round picks, and they could very well, if everything goes correct, in my opinion, they could have Caleb Williams and Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers, wide receiver out of LSU. Caleb Williams, one of the most touted QB prospects we've had in a long time. Well, yeah, I'd say in a decent amount of time. Coming out of USC, I think the Bears could really switch things around and compete in the NFC North. I really do. It's the Lions division this year, and the Vikings are going to be mentioned later. But listen, man, this Bears team, I'm not trying to get on the Bears train at all, but if they start drafting well, which could be if Caleb Williams hits, assuming they take him and not Drake May, and Malik Nabers turns out to be a solid player, that's 2 really good weapons already. You boost up the offensive line with the money you have. I think the Bears could really make this rebuild quicker than some say. All right, now we get to the Bengals. Okay, now we get to the Bengals. And Joe Burrow's out. We know that. Jamar Chase has been had a pretty good year. Joe Mixon, scores all the time, especially on prime time. And Jake Browning has been the main story at QB, and he's played well. He's played well enough to win football games. But I think, I got the Bengals at the great. Oh shoot, my bad. Sorry about that, guys. Got them at the great tier. Think they're a really good team. Now with Buffalo, I think you can make the. Keep moving the screen by accident. I think you could very well make it to have Buffalo here. So I think that's what we're gonna have for now. We get to the Cleveland Browns now. The Browns, I think, are 9-5. I'm gonna say this for anybody who's confused about this chart. The great tier is basically the playoff tier, right? So let me just put that in. I'm gonna put it as the offs. All right, just PY means playoffs. We'll just keep it as great. Why not? We'll just keep it as great. So yeah, really the great teams are the playoff teams. The elite teams will get mentioned. But now we talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, I'm a Giants fan. I hate the Cowboys. I really hope they play poor the rest of the year. They're taking on the Dolphins soon. That should be an interesting matchup. Dak Prescott kind of lost his MVP chance after getting smoked by the Buffalo Bills. But I still think they're a solid team. I still think they are one of the best teams, and I think they are still a Super Bowl contender. Now, I hope, I will say this. Let's not get fooled. Dallas has fooled us many times in the past that they look like a Super Bowl contending team. Their defense looks amazing. CeeDee Lamb's having a great year. Tony Pollard has been in and out of, I guess you could say, of games, meaning he hasn't been amazing in all of his games. He's been inconsistent. That's the word. But I think this team, I think they're easily a top 3 team in the NFC. I think only the Eagles and the Niners are the better team. But we'll get back into those teams later. Talking about the Denver Broncos now, I think this team has been really starting to play better football under Russell Wilson. Sorry about that. Sean Payton has really turned this team around. I think they started like 1-5, and now they're 5-5. Really good stuff out of that guy, and they're gonna be in the great tier. And now we get to the Detroit Lions, 10-4 on the year. Things are looking good for the Detroit Lions. Could be a potential playoff team. Looks to be it for the first time in a long time for this Lions team. And we don't know. We don't know how they're going to perform if, and we also don't know who their guaranteed matchup is, right? So, I think Jared Goff has been pretty, I think he's been good enough to win them games. He's beaten solid teams. He's beaten, he has beaten the Kansas City Chiefs and some other teams, but he's also, lost some games that they probably shouldn't have lost, like that game against Green Bay. That's a game that they should not have lost. But anyways, I still think this Lions team is going to be in the elite tier. I think they're a really solid football team. I think Dan Campbell has really found the Lions culture, right? I think he's really changed that culture around, and they've been a good football team. Now I know you're gonna say, "Oh, why do you have the Lions over the Bills or the Bengals?" They're 10-4. Both of these teams do not have 10 wins, and this is not a record tier list. I just think right now you could put them at the elite tier. But now we get to Green Bay, and I don't think this team has any business of being in the playoffs like the Detroit Lions. And they're in the mid-tier. Of course, I don't think Green Bay has been elite this year like they have been under Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love, of course, is no Aaron Rodgers, but we should never be comparing Jordan Love to Aaron Rodgers anytime. So that is definitely something. But I think Matt LaFleur has done a pretty decent job in Green Bay with Jordan Love. Now we head to the Houston Texans, and this is an interesting team we have with CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud has been a very good player this year. Okay, he's been a very good player, and I think this team could try and sneak into the playoffs. They're 8-6. A lot needs to happen for them to make the playoffs, but I'm gonna put them in the great tier because I think they've been great this year, man. I know, 8-6. That's not some perfect record, but I think they've done a really good job building this team. And obviously, Tank Dell is injured, so I mean that's been tough for CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, one of the games, struggled against the Jets. Got hurt in the game, but listen, I think they've been a great football team this year. And, the Colts, man. Under Gardner Minshew, Anthony Richardson goes down early this year. But, man, oh, man, I got to put the Colts at the great position. I think they have exceeded expectations by a long shot. Okay? I really do think that this Colts team has shocked some people. Under Gardner Minshew, and they're winning football games, man. Like, I am very impressed with the Colts this year. They're 8-6 as well, and I don't know how I can't have them and not in the same team as the Texans. Right, and I'm gonna put the Jags there as well. I think all three of these teams, 8-6, of course. Colts scoring the most points, but also they've almost allowed more points than they've scored. Look at it, the Jags have scored 319 points. Problem is though with the Jags is that they've been on a 3-game losing streak. Now I can't put them at the mid tier because Trevor Lawrence is their QB. Doug Peterson's a really good head coach. This team could easily make the playoffs for sure. But, hey, things are getting, things are changing. Heading to the Kansas City Chiefs. Got them. I'm going to put them at the Super Bowl tier. As long as Patrick Mahomes is their QB, they have a chance to make the Super Bowl. And yes, I know, their wide receiver core has been bad, really bad. Aside from Rashee Rice, Kadarius Toney's been a joke. Travis Kelce has been, I guess, good enough to win and help Patrick Mahomes, but 9-5 on the record. I still think this team is one of the best teams in the AFC. I think the only team right now that I can honestly say that's better than them is the Baltimore Ravens. And yes, the Buffalo Bills did beat the Kansas City Chiefs, thanks to Kadarius Toney. But I mean, there's a lot to see with Buffalo. I think with Buffalo, you could easily put them at the elite tier, right? I think you could definitely put them at the elite tier. But I think they're a great football team, but I just don't. No, I mean, yes, they beat Patrick Mahomes. The Lions beat Patrick Mahomes, so then why are they not better? I don't know. The Bills are the Bills, and we're going to head to Los Angeles, the first LA team that we're going to talk about. The LA Chargers. Of course, no more Brandon Staley. They are saying sayonara, Brandon Staley, and Brandon Staley thought that it's often that your team gets your ass whooped. But no, that just doesn't happen, Brandon Staley. Your team should not be this bad, and you're going in the awful tier. Because there should be no reason why when you have Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Gerald Everett, and a good enough defense that you are this bad at football. No way. No way. And you've been having a talented roster multiple years. You know, unlike the LA Rams, who I think have been great this year. Obviously they're starting to play good football. And, I think you could say with with Sean McVay of how good of a head coach he is, man. I mean, that guy elevates players so much. Matt Stafford does it with all of his wide receivers. I mean, look at Puka Nacua this year. He has a chance to break the wide receiver rookie receiving yards. I think he's at 1,300 right now or something like that. He's at least close. I know Justin Jefferson had 1,400. The record is, I believe, 1,600 or something like that. It's crazy, but getting back into the Oakland Raiders, going into mid-tier. They've started to play better under Antonio Pierce, I think. But yeah, it's definitely been a roller coaster season for Raiders fans. Aiden O'Connell at QB. Jimmy Garoppolo goes down. I think he got injured, but Devontae Adams' career being wasted there. Get him the hell out of Las Vegas. They're mid. All right, they're just a mid football team. Getting into the Miami Dolphins, they are at the elite tier for me. Really good football squad. I think that the Tyreek Hill effect definitely plays into this. Tua Tagovailoa has been good enough to win them football games. The one thing I do have them as an issue is that they have not beat one team over 500. But you also have to play into account is they don't make their schedule, but they've also lost some games where they probably shouldn't have lost. But I'm 90. I believe they lost to the Tennessee Titans too. That's just a loss that cannot happen. Heading into the Minnesota Vikings, they are at my mid tier. Now I know that there's no the Panthers are worse than this, and the Chargers. Now I'm just putting where I think they are. It's not like a 1, 2, 3, 4. Like the Bengals are the best great team. No, we're not gonna do that. But yeah, getting back to the Vikings, who really is their QB? Is it Nick Mullins? Is it Joshua Dobbs? They have Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. I think that's one of the better wide receiver duos in the National Football League. TJ Hawkinson has been a great addition after bringing him in there last year. I think I look at this Vikings team making the playoffs last year, losing to my Giants, and now they're 7-7. It's hard for me to believe that they're going to make the playoffs. Right? I don't think I see this team making the playoffs. And that's why I have them at the mid-tier. But we get to the New England Patriots. They are most certainly ready for the draft as they have a chance to take Drake May, or if Caleb Williams decides to not go to the Bears, or they could take Marvin Harrison Jr. as well. A lot of options for this team. But, I think this Patriots team, they have a lot of work to do. Mac Jones, I don't believe is the answer, clearly. Their wide receiver core is pretty poor. Hunter Henry has been an okay tight end for them. They're just an aging team. Bill Belichick, I don't even know if he's going to be the head coach next year. I think they might part ways with him. But if they keep him, listen, he's been an established head coach for this team. He's got an amazing legacy. And you can say what you want, whether Brady is the reason why Bill Belichick's good. I still think Belichick is a good head coach. But we get into the Saints. They're a mid-team to me. They are a mid-football team. I don't know if I could say they're an awful football team. I just see them as a mid-team. I don't believe that this team should be this bad, but also Michael Thomas is just not able to has just not been able to be healthy. You know, Chris Olave is a solid addition. Their QB situation, I don't think Derek Carr is very good. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. But the Saints. Now we get to my New York Giants. I kind of have them at ready for the draft, in my opinion. You know, I don't think they're a very good team this year. 5-9. Listen, they had their chance to try and go on a run with Tommy DeVito. They lose to the Saints embarrassingly. They get embarrassed by, a wide receiver room with no Olave, no Michael Thomas. They were missing one of their better linemen, and Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon couldn't really get David Carr. Derek Carr, not Derek. David Carr. Derek Carr was slinging the football against this Giants defense. Wink Martindale maybe had one of his worst play calling, in my opinion. Jets at also they're gonna be ready for the draft. Listen, this Giants and Jets team, I think the Jets are in kind of a better spot than the Giants. I think they have the better wide receivers, the better defense, a lot of things, and also they just beat the New York Giants this year. But anyways, I think these two teams are really looking forward to this year's draft. The Jets need an offensive line. The Giants need an offensive line. You could argue the Giants also need a QB if they want to take Jaden Daniels in the draft. But, after talking about New York football trash, we get to go to the Philadelphia Eagles. I have them at the elite tier. Basically, their secondary scares me. Jalen Hurts is a really good player. I'm just kidding. They're a Super Bowl team. This team is really freaking good. Okay. Jalen Hurts is a beast. I know their secondary is kind of skeptical, but this is a damn good football team. Up and down the lineup. A.J. Brown has been having an amazing year. Devontae Smith is a great wide receiver, too. They're going to get Dallas Goedert back, of course. He's a solid tight end. They have an amazing offensive line under Jason Kelce. It's just if they could play good enough defense against, teams like the Cowboys or the Chiefs or whoever they play in the future in the playoffs, or the 49ers, they'll have a good chance of going back to the Super Bowl. Pittsburgh Steelers, mid. Mike Tomlin, is this the first year he's going to go under 500? We don't know, but this team, man, they have good wide receivers. I think Deontay Johnson is good. I think George Pickens is good. Kenny Pickett stinks. Mason Rudolph stinks. Najee Harris, I don't think is very good. T.J. Watt's good, though. But overall, just not a great football team, in my opinion. Seattle Seahawks, I could honestly put them at great. I'd say I don't think they're a mid football team. I think they actually, quite frankly, had a pretty good year. San Francisco, one of the best teams in football. Really good. The Bucks, Baker Mayfield, man, I think he's really found a home. Going to go with the great tier. Tennessee Titans, awful and just awful. I mean, Derrick Henry's kind of getting washed. And we've rounded off with the Washington Commanders and ready for the draft. So thank you guys, of course, for tuning in. It's been probably one of my longest episodes, but I really, really enjoyed making this video. Of course, getting a little breakdown, the best of the best. The Baltimore Ravens and the San Francisco 49ers. We get to the Super Bowl teams. Dallas, Kansas City, Eagles. Are the Dallas Cowboys going to fool us again? Most likely. Are the Chiefs going to make it back? Maybe. Are the Eagles going to make it back to the Super Bowl? Possibly. Are the Lions going to make a big surprise in the playoffs? Are the Dolphins going to shut up the haters and after only beating under 500 teams? Are the Bengals, Browns, Broncos, Texans, Colts, Jaguars, Bills, Rams, Seahawks, and Bucks? What teams out of those are going to honestly be in the playoffs? Then we get to the mid teams. The Falcons, Packers, Raiders, Vikings, Saints, and Steelers. Awful teams that you just don't want to watch on national television. Cardinals, Panthers, Chargers, and Titans the teams that you definitely don't want to watch on TV: the Patriots, Bears, Giants, Jets, and Commanders. Thank you all for tuning in to this podcast. Of course, gonna have more and more team tiers. Might do NHL next. Might do QBs. I don't know. Definitely leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.